Hey guys, welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to be talking about geometric sequences. In the previous video and the previous lesson, you learned about arithmetic sequences. And remember, for those, you were either adding or subtracting a common number, a common difference. And then for these ones, you're going to be multiplying or dividing by a common ratio. So here's kind of the overview for geometric sequences. A geometric sequence is a pattern of numbers that begins with a non-zero term. Non-zero term, that just means it cannot be zero. So any other number that is not zero can be the starting number. You'll see why in a second. And each term after that is found by multiplying the previous term by a non-zero constant. So this is also important. You have to multiply by a non-zero constant. That means that this one can't be 0 also. This constant is called the common ratio. That's important right there. That's one of your vocab words, the common ratio. I'll show you what that is in a second. Dividing a term by the previous term results in the common ratio. So if you want to find like the number that's next, you just take the next number divided by the previous number, and that should tell you the common ratio. We'll show that with this example in a second. So to find the common ratio, divide each term by the previous term, and then write the ratio in simplest form. So you might end up with a fraction, but sometimes you can reduce that fraction to a simpler form. Okay, let's take a look at this example here. Starts with a 2. 2 is a non-zero constant. And then it goes to 6, 18, 54. But if you want to find the common ratio, you just take the number that is next and divide it by the previous. So for example, let's take 6 divided by 2, and we get 3. You can also take 18 divided by 6, and you get 3. And you can do that anywhere in the sequence as long as you're taking each term and dividing it by the previous one. That should give you the common ratio. Okay, so that's it. That's how you find the common ratio. Now let's think about why the first term cannot be 0 or the common ratio cannot be 0. So let's think of this. If this was a 0, the very first one, 2 in this case, if that was a 0, what would happen? Well, think about it. 6 divided by 0. You can't divide by 0. That would give us an error. That's part of the reason why you can't have the first number be 0, because then it would mess up your whole entire sequence. There wouldn't be a sequence, actually. Okay, now let's think about why this number here, the actual common ratio, can't be 0. And that's because when you divide these terms, you should not be able to get a 0. Otherwise, think about multiplying by 0. 2 times 0 would be 0. And then it would just be 0 throughout. So for example, how do we get from 2 to 6? Well, you multiply by 3. Okay, 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 3, 18. 18 times 3 is 54. The common ratio here is 3, and you get that by dividing the term by the previous term, like we showed earlier. Now, if the common ratio was 0, once again, that wouldn't work out because look, 2 times 0 is not 6. 6 times 0 is not 18. So it's very important to understand that the first term and the common ratio cannot be 0. And that answers this question down below. Okay? That's kind of the brief introduction into geometric sequences and the common ratio. We're going to talk more about this in the following video. I'll see you guys there.